Hello. How does this work?
You pressed a
Huh?
button.
What button? Leave the
Don't leave
stage.
the stage. Leave the stage.
V
Oh,
button.
sorry. Right. Okay.
This court is here adjourned upon
No, not adjourned.
No,
No,
no, hang on.
adjourned is the other one.
This court is here
I need to bang my
assembled.
gavel. I need to bang. No. Okay. Okay. Okay.
This court is here
Wait, no,
assembled.
can you hear this? Can you hear this? I just need to check. If I do this, you can't hear that. Okay. Give me a
No,
second.
I
I'm gonna
can't.
change my mic and see if you can hear it. Right. Hello. That's really loud. Okay. I'm sure you heard that.
No.
Okay. Well, I banged the gavel, so the High Court of Reims is now in session. Oh.
The court case we here today present before ourselves is that of the Holy Slavic Empire enforcing the will of the Treaty of Reims.
Fine. All rise. You can rise if you want to.
Oh, you don't have to rise. You
don't-
can stay,
okay,
you can s-
okay.
you can stay sat down.
Most people should rise, is my suggestion. It is actually a Baum position. He's rising, okay.
Right. May the Speaker of the Holy Slavic Empire, right? Not yet, Dennis. No.
I just like to raise a point of order with regards to the scheduling, to the way it's organized, so everyone is aware. Because I don't think everyone in the audience is aware of the scheduling.
Yes. So
I
don't know.
the first speaker shall have 15 minutes to present their case and argue their point. The other person, Dennis, will have 15 minutes of presenting their own case, which isn't quite refutations, because that happens for 10 minutes, following the 10 minutes of Lucas's refutations. So Lucas talks for 15 minutes. Dennis talks for 15 minutes. Lucas says, no, Dennis, you're wrong for 10 minutes. Dennis says, no, Lucas, you're wrong for 10 minutes. Such is the formatting of this court hearing.
I'd also like to add, just the way it works is that when we're presenting our arguments, you like ask questions, and then
You do not have to talk for the full 15 minutes.
No, you can.
A
Yeah,
maximum time
you
limit.
can yield your time. But yeah. So the way it works is we'll start our arguments, and then you'll ask questions, and then that's just generally how oral arguments work. So I'll yield.
Right, should we?
May the first speaker begin.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening. Oh, wait, where's the third judge gone?
He's
Huh?
still in the audience.
I
He's
don't
just,
have to. Okay, yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
I think
So
You have to ask questions, so you really
Starting
should be
yes.
in the.
yeah. So
starting off. Wait, do I introduce or
sign off. What case
Okay.
are you presenting?
what do you mean?
What do you want us to do?
So to introduce, I feel like this should be more of a holistic hearing. So the question I'm raising to the court, if I find it, is what should the international law be on what should international law be on what makes a claim valid in this court? How important is textual evidence? How important are signatories in a pact? And finally, how important are implications due to conversation outside of participants and pacts? This is relevant to the Treaty of Riam, or however you
All right,
pronounce it.
I'd like to object. The purpose of this
what?
hearing is to. I was invited to speak. I request I was invited to speak. I'd like to object. The purpose of this hearing is to determine specifically whether or not your claims regarding Reims are enforceable, not whether
Okay,
or not
yeah.
not the general rule.
We're not
I mean,
arguing.
I thought that
about
was
them.
obvious from the get-go.
Objection
Well-
sustained.
Thank you.
Please sit down.
Anyways.
Thank you.
So yes, so
Dennis is very horny.
on the specifics of that then. So it's all started with the ambiguity of the re-implementation phrase, but also on the fact of the lack of textual evidence for the nullification of the Treaty of Riom in the London Armistice by virtue of having no mention of the Treaty of Riom in the London Armistice, neither in the furthering of the London Armistice. And in my point of view, we have an issue with partitions in general. Some have been followed, some have been only partially followed. that does not mean that some partitions are part nullified and some aren't. For example, the Partition del Norte de Africa and the Fleuve Partition both promise land to Job, for example, in France, and to Serbia in the Horn of Africa. Neither have these pieces of land, and neither are showing a very strong feelings towards getting them ever again. They're not expressing their claims, not exercising them. That does not mean they don't have them either way. For example, the reason why they may not be exercising their claims and not be petitioning for this is because they themselves don't have the power close enough to ask for this. So, obviously, collectively, the signatories have not brought up the fact that we are all violating these partitions, me included, on the French partition. That is why I'm saying that there are quite a lot of violations of treaties. These give rightful claims to them. That just means that they have the right to exercise it. Obviously, they need someone to agree with this. Furthering on...
So what point are you actually making?
My point being is that since there was no textual evidence of the nullification of the Treaty of Riom, it is still in action. For example, also, there were parts of the clause that were followed.
Other treaties, you're saying because you interpret other treaties to still be standing, the treaty you interpret is still standing.
I'm saying that the textual evidence of partitions and pacts are supposed to be the determinant factor in whether or not they are true. Like in international law, the treatises that are actually written are the ones that are official, not the unofficial backhand remarks of diplomats, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is that on the same treaty, parts of the secondary treaty of the re-implementation on the war were actually followed. Like, you didn't say when Dennis had actually converted to Christianity. However, on the secondary clauses, he was supposed to convert to Catholicism by a certain date. But did he convert to Catholicism?
I know he went a bit after that date.
Eventually, he did have it. It was not at the date in question.
However, the one thing he definitely did do was give the head of faith title to Matthew, which was on the Declaration of War secondary clauses. So if he had followed most of the secondary clauses, why shouldn't he have followed the others? So even if this treaty... This is the reclamation of Sweden by me. This is the one with the ambiguous clause of re-implementation. Yes. However, followed with the actual proper yes. Primary, secondary. This will be so re-implementing of all requirements of the first war, including reparations to Will, remaining Catholic, handing over head of faith title to Matthew, which happened, and Baltic Sea trade node supremacy clauses. Now, you see how he did follow most of those agreements. I believe he gave a substantial amount of money to Will, maybe not all of it, but a substantial amount, meaning that for a long time he was following the declaration of war, and the reparations consigned to him. So the fact that he is not following this, it probably means that either we forgot because it's simply that it wasn't prevalent in CK3 since Baltic Sea trade wasn't a thing. And that's why I want this to be in force, or at least to have a textual partition to show exactly what are the current circumstances for everything, okay?
So you're saying because he followed all the secondary clauses, all the secondary clauses in quotation marks,
and the fact that there's absence of any nullification, yeah.
Again.
Yes.
So, again, there's a bit of an issue here, which is that is a declaration of war. It is not a. I guess, given the war was successful, it is, again, like an armistice, effectively.
Yes.
Yeah.
And furthermore, like for the London armistices, they never mentioned anything economic nor societal. They only mentioned of transfer of land, and all of that was done by me. And what else? I probably have some other things to say. I just can't remember what they are. You
Sorry,
can't
but
implicitly nullify a treaty. The treaties that are currently, I mean, I already said this, the Fleuve and Partition del Norte de Africa, treaties are currently, should be currently in effect. We've just gone against the treaty. Like, for example, the French thing, to be honest, we were acting against what Luma was expecting at the time. He expected to keep the South Africa, and to be honest, it kind of makes sense for Portugal to have the south of Africa. I mean, south of France. But my territory has been protruding quite far into France. It is a bit border gorish, and so there were good reasons for the partition.
But would you not say because
you
a war was declared like the partition was fulfilled? So are you saying the partition is indefinite until it is declared not so?
Well, yes. It must be declared not so at some point. Otherwise, you can easily look in the past, like China, for example. Actually, this is a modern day example. Let's use another example.
Say in this example that Dennis's actions right now aren't the declaring this as no longer the case. So this being the cancellation of this treaty.
Sorry, what do you mean by that?
So
What his actions right now?
So you said that that treaties can be nullified, but only if they actually have some event nullifying them. And would you say that?
As in textual evidence and signatories.
So okay, evidence that hasn't yet been supplied.
You can't just on some whim of not having talked about it in a long time decide that something's nullified. Just because it hasn't been talked of and people aren't aware of it doesn't mean that it's been nullified, right?
So you're saying you need it to be explicitly
also,
stated
the treaty
something is nullified.
Yes, and also treaties can be temporarily nullified, and it has happened before. For example, literally when we are at war, Dennis doesn't keep giving the 10k reparations
But surely that's
required
implicit.
for Will.
But surely that's implicit. Like it was never stated
What do you mean
anywhere.
implicit? It's not.
Surely it was never stated anywhere that the treaty was temporarily nullified.
Yeah, it's temporarily nullified. I agree. It was temporarily nullified implicitly. However, it's not nullified forever, right? It is then also not implicit. It is required that afterwards, when at peace, or at least this probably should be written more in armistices nowadays. We should write that then treaties should come back in force if people are confused as to why they're still here, because whenever the war is finished, the status quo on treaties that are not related to the war should still be the same, even if they were temporarily nullified. Because why would they be destroyed? It's like saying, oh, the trade agreement between Ireland and Britain was like active for these many decades, and then Britain declared war on France, which was an ally of Ireland, so now the trade agreement is gone forever.
This is logic.
Like,
that
they can choose
I
that to be the
understand.
case.
This has been the case in previous
the-
scenarios. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Just to make sure someone's
Like,
keeping time,
just
right?
Yes, I'm keeping an eye on the
Okay,
time.
good.
how much longer?
Got
About 5
2
minutes.
left. Well, no,
2 minutes.
5
Hang
minutes.
on, I'm scrolling up to see in the chat.
Deacon, do you have any questions?
4 minutes.
No, I think you covered everything.
I mean, I think. Yeah, I do just want to check. So, you are.
I've lost to say in responding, by the way.
Yeah,
carry
I'm
on, yeah.
sure. Just in regards to your point about. You are. So basically, your statement is that treaties can never be implicitly nullified. Forever. They are only ever temporarily nullified implicitly. And they must
temporary.
otherwise
For
be
obvious
stated.
reasons, like as Dennis.
But surely it's obvious that
rightly
if war is
says-
declared for land, right?
Yes.
If
yes.
war is declared for land, then
Yeah.
that was previously given out in a partition, then surely that. So you're saying that doesn't implicitly nullify the claim?
Oh, of course not. It doesn't nullify it in any way whatsoever. It just gives a rightful claim of the person due to the partition. Due to the partition previously agreed, there is simply a breach of the partition. It doesn't. The partition is consigning land. It's not saying, "Oh, this is what it should be."
No, you're saying
it's
it is
saying
what this-
these are the rightful. It's a rightful. No, it should be is a more weak way of saying it, more passive. It is what must be. It's a rightful claim.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's remind the speaker
Because
that
otherwise,
they
the
have-
partitions are very. Sorry.
you've just over a minute of time left.
Is
Okay.
there anything else you want to say? Just add it now.
This is also the reason why Croatia and Luma are, Serbia and Portugal are both on a back foot currently in the games. Like Serbia could have had the potential to colonize lots of Africa by now. However, they don't because they don't border any land that they can colonize. And this is also the same thing with Luma in terms of France. He has missions that require him to have a monopoly on wine, meaning that he has to either be trading in wine or have several wine provinces, and Bordeaux has lots of wine provinces. The mission makes him take southern France, but he can't get it. And for both people, they are stuck. They cannot progress the game that much, and especially Serbia, who is just funding rebels all the time. Now, as funny as it is not a fun thing to do, funding rebels all the time. I'd like to see him having fun colonizing the Africans, engaging in slave trade, or abolishing it. And that's not the case because we've not followed the partition. I don't know why it wasn't followed because I wasn't engaged in this implicit conversation. That's the other thing. When it's not official, everyone cannot be notified about these ideas. For example, me, I had no idea what was the reasoning behind Sardinia getting Horn of Africa. It may be a completely valid reason, but it should be textualized.
I need to call time here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Step down from the stage.
Now, so the Netherlands to
Yep.
rise to the stage. However, the Netherlands here is to speak and present their case, not deny Lucas' case yet. It's not
Okay.
refutations, it is merely presenting your
I'd
case.
like to, before my time starts, I'd like to ask at least that the judges have my amended brief open so that I can refer to exhibits. Just for the
yeah, got it.
it's easier. All right, thank you. So can my time start just at 55?
Okay. You may remain silent until 55.
I just want to check with you. We can be pro Fortnite.
Okay, no, he's not here. We can't start. Okay. May
Your
it
time-
please, may it
Your
please
time
the court.
begins now.
I'm going to start briefly on my procedural argument. So that's latches and sort of the waiver concept I implied before moving on to the trade agreement, and then going on to sort of the implicit nullification idea. So the first thing with latches bars a claimant if they wait too long to bring a claim, and that results in unreasonable prejudice against the defendant. And the court has ruled that latches is an admissible argument here. That this case, the petitioner here waited too long, is not really in dispute. He knew very well, because of interactions I had with him, that I was trading in the Baltic Sea node, and that potentially he had cause to know that I would colonize the Caribbean. He could have made this argument then. And I don't think it's a defense to latch to say, oh, I didn't know that I'd signed the treaty. Well, that's unreasonable. You should know that you've signed a treaty. Ignorance of the law is not a defense. And here, that goes doubly so, because it's something you've actually directly agreed to. You don't agree to the law in any kind of meaningful sense. But here, he's agreed to this treaty. There should at least be a reasonable expectation that he knows what that treaty is. So the only delay on latches is if he doesn't know of the conduct. But in this case, he did know of the conduct, or at least he had cause to know. And with the waiver concept, it's similar. By failing to assert an affirmative privilege, that he essentially waives that privilege, because it's not reasonable to just assert at any point to stop someone after knowing. And once again, I go back to the fact that there should be a reasonable assumption that he understands what's in the treaties he signed. So and you can see that with Croatia. There's not been, Croatia hasn't asserted that claim, and yes, you might argue that he doesn't have the ability to assert that claim, but he could have at least mentioned it as a petitioner did here, and then had that argument. He didn't really properly assert that claim until just very recently in the last session.
I'd just like to bring back to your first point. So you're saying that ignorance is not a defense unless... When would it be a defense?
Ignorance is a defense if you are ignorant and that's reasonable of the offending conduct, but not of the thing which it transgresses on. So not the treaty is not... Ignorance of a treaty is not a defense, but reasonable ignorance of the offending conduct is a defense. And so I'll just move on. That's everything I have on latches and waivers. So I'll move on to the double alliance. The double alliance, or the trade clause in the Treaty of Reims, which is the clause 5 in the first exhibit, reads that double alliance members cannot move trade in the Baltic Sea trade node. It refers to the double alliance. The double alliance no longer exists. That was stated by one of the judges, stated at the start of EU4, I believe, or somewhere thereabout, that all alliances are nullified. And the fact that in partitions and pacts, I haven't actually cited this in my exhibits, but in partitions and pacts, if you scroll up just a very small bit, petitioner stated that the Orientalis is still here, it's still a thing, but the double alliance is not still here. It's not still a thing. And as a practical matter, it doesn't still exist. No one believes that Portugal, Serbia, and the Netherlands are in an alliance. That's just manifestly untrue. So both as a practical matter and as a textual matter, the double alliance no longer exists. The role also no longer exists. So this claim, it simply has no target. I'm not a member of the double alliance because it doesn't exist, and so no claim can be brought because the double alliance doesn't exist. Quite simply.
Would you not say though that adding members to the end of double alliance members specifically implies that he's current members of the double alliance?
Well, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. The current members of the double alliance. There are no current members because it doesn't exist. If a member was added to the double alliance, then they would be bound by that treaty, even if they hadn't previously been a member of the double alliance at the time of the ratification of the treaty. Similarly, if someone leaves, well, then they are no longer bound by the treaty. Since the alliance no longer exists, no one is bound by the treaty because no one is a member of it. And it's exactly like you said. If someone joins, then it's the members at the time of the bringing of the claim. There are no members, so the claim can't be brought. And then implicit nullification is sort of the biggest one, so I'll move on to that now. I know I'm not supposed to rebut, but I'll just briefly say that petitioner argues that...
No.
No, you may not
Okay,
rebut.
fine.
You may
Fine.
present what the petitioner was preemptively countering before having...
Okay, in the
actually
brief, petitioner says that, there's at war, something is implicitly nullified. But why would that be? Why would that resume? Like, if I fight a war,
This is really rebuttal. Can we move on to something?
All right. Okay. Fine. I mean, I did argue that in my brief initially before,
Yeah.
but that's
Okay.
fine. Then
Oh, sorry.
you remove me. Okay. I'd like to get
you
Your
get
time shall continue. I'll keep,
All right,
keep the count.
I will.
Also, I'd like to say that the re-implementation clause. Why is Will speaking? No.
We'll try to keep them out. Just ignore him.
The re-implementation clause. So in the Articles of War for the reclamation of Sweden, one of the things was that it re-implements all of the requirements, including some of these, which is the reparations to Russia, remaining Catholic, and the Baltic Sea trade node supremacy clause. And there are no such there's only one clause, but that's not really relevant here. The other two are, you could, like, I know it says all, but why would there be then a non-exhaustive list when the exhaustive list would not be particularly long? It would add two more things. the only reasonable and re-implementing implies that at the time of the signing of the treaty, it wasn't already implemented, and I think that petitioner raises the "I forgot" clause, but once again, that goes back to what I said. You should be aware of what's in the treaty you signed. So saying that you didn't realize it wasn't in force is kind of, there wasn't a textual commitment there, is kind of unreasonable. And then, he also makes some arguments, at least in the chat, but not in the briefs, that some of these were changed, but not all of them. Remaining Catholic was changed from originally it was changed to Catholic by that date. And the reparations to Russia were increased, but the Baltic Sea trade note supremacy clauses were not changed. There was no change there. So this theory is clearly not the case. What makes more sense is that...
So you're saying that petitioner, by including re-implementing in the war goals, he himself implied that they had been unimplemented.
Yes.
Effectively. Okay.
Yeah.
And could you also say, though, that this is not the case, for indeed you mentioned the war reparations were increased and changed, and therefore it could be assumed that as only changes in that previously established things were not removed.
But not all of them were changed. The Baltic Sea trade node clause, for example, that's not changed. It's a direct reference to Section 5 of the Treaty of Rheims, or Clause 5, or however you want to say it. And additionally, that would just, like, at the time, it was generally understood that the Treaty of Rheims, or at least it was treated as such, that the Treaty of Rheims was not in force. The gold that was slowly being transferred to Russia, it was not following the London Armistice. That gold ceased to be transferred, at the very least. That was the only continuing thing, but at least that was stopped doing, and that is the reason, I think, why it says re-implement, because it was understood at the time that these clauses were not implemented. And then
you're very much saying because no fuss was made about you stopping all transfer of gold, even though you didn't explicitly say I am no longer transferring gold or war reparations. Because you declared war, you're saying it nullified it by winning the war.
Yes, that is what I'm saying. That's why I was trying to make the war argument before, and then you stopped me for rebuttal.
Okay.
Just that, like, at a very, like, minimum point, if the war is, we can think about reasonably. There are two ways of really thinking about these sets of wars. The first is at 3 wars. One war to take Sweden, which I lost, resulting in the Treaty of Rheims, or which the Netherlands or the North Sea Empire at the time lost, resulting in the Treaty of Rheims. Then another war, once again for the same war goal, which was then won, and that was the London Armistice. And then it also included the one other county to Croatia at the time, now Serbia. And then there was the third war, which was the Reclamation War, which I think is a bad way of thinking about it. The better way of thinking about it, I think, is that there are two wars and an intermission period. The first war is the war to take Sweden. That war was fought with using actually the same character claim, the same CK3 claim, for the same land and largely the same parties, although there were some additions. I mean, that's obvious, but at the very least, no parties were removed, only added, and parties obviously can join in the middle of a war. So arguably, this is more like a break. It's wiser to consider this as one war, because obviously at the end of it, I did not acknowledge the Treaty of Rheims to be in force. I did that, and that was just kind of someone at the time, I think it was asked, why aren't you paying the war reparations? Because I won the war. The Treaty of Rheims is no longer in force, and that was the end of that conversation. And the initial war goal had been obtained, so realistically, I think it's smarter to think about it as the one war for me to take Sweden and another war to take it back, and then that war re-implements the specific clauses. Yeah, go ahead.
Could I ask you to repeat a brief phrase you said? Also, you said that you believe you had a conversation with someone about why the war reparations are not being enforced.
It wasn't. I don't believe. Obviously, I can't prove any of the conversations that happened unless Will says he has the streams, but that's not really relevant here. I don't think. This was there was not a debate here, and everyone would remember if there was a debate. I think it was like a conversation saying, no, don't bother. Will. It was like a conversation saying, oh, why aren't you paying war reparations? Oh, because they're not enforced. I won the war. Like, that kind of makes sense. Like, intuitively, that makes sense. That if you fight a war, you lose, and then you essentially relitigate that war, but on the battlefield. Then the punishment for losing initially should not really apply. I think that makes intuitive sense to everyone. Even absent sort of this strict textual commitment that petitioner insists we adopt, I don't really think that's the case. I don't think that's necessary. And I'd like to. I've realized now. I forgot to talk about Hispaniola in my first section, so I'll go back to that. Because I only talked about the Baltic Sea and the failing to assert that right. With regards to Hispaniola, yes, you could say, well, how would he have asserted that claim at the time? But he still petitioner still waited too long to assert this claim. I began colonizing the Caribbean like 100 years ago at this point, or somewhere thereabout. Why didn't he say at the time, no, don't...
Do we have any proof that petitioner was able to see the Caribbean?
I suppose
observer mode.
And also saving at the end of the game.
Well,
We have evidence from the court that a close neighbour to the Holy Southern Empire could not see.
Yeah, I know Will not being able to see the Caribbean does not mean
that doesn't prove anything.
That does not
quite
prove
frankly.
anything, because stealing maps is very much a thing.
But additionally, so no, we're not talking.
Well,
Guys,
Not yet.
Even so,
if you have the save, Lucas, if you have the save file for the
even
one of those
so,
dates, give it to me.
even so, he was aware that. Like I believe at the time, or at least reasonably before this point, at least like several sessions ago, the petitioner was aware that I was colonizing in North America. He could have said, no, you can colonize in North America, but remember, I control Hispaniola, or I'm entitled to that, so don't take that. He didn't do that. He said he waited, and then now is saying once that becomes a more salient point, to say. He's now saying, no, now you can't have it because I've rediscovered this treaty, which is completely nonsensical. You shouldn't have to read.
In your last minute,
yes, okay, thank
ending
you.
a little bit past 10 minutes.
Yeah. I don't. Do you have any questions? I think
I was going to say. So you're saying that because he, oh God, where am I going this? Because he did not tell you to not disregard his claim
within a reasonable time frame prior to when he should have known that
but was he required to tell you about his claim?
I'd argue that, like I said, you're required to assert a claim. You might not have to even. Yes, here he couldn't actually take that claim right now, but he should have said.
I have evidence that in 1533 Prussia could see it. I don't know how relevant that is.
That's 30 plus years ago, so I'd say fairly. Okay. I'd like to say fairly relevant. I'm saying that you need to make some kind of assertion that you can enforce this privilege, you can claim this privilege. You have a right to this. You can't wait for ages. But 2 sessions. That's and not the last session because we are at war. So you need to say I have a right to this. You can't just show up and say and claim this thing. You have to give.
I'm going to have to call time here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'll leave the stage.
So before we have rebuttal, I have a brief pause where members of the audience who have an objection to factual content,
not
rebuttal.
Get that, but okay. He could see He could see the island of Hispaniola in 1514. So. I think that's somewhat conclusive on that.
Do any members of the audience have any objections to the factual content of statements that have been made?
Can we just pause for like a minute? Because I need to go to the toilet.
Whether he paid me, actually.
I'm going to the.
I think
that claim's not even really an issue.
I'm also going to.
I remember.
Could I just check? Are we getting witnesses from either side, or are we not?
They may call the witnesses should they desire, however, they do not have to.
Are we having some extra time at the end to call
Wait,
witnesses?
do we call the witnesses or do
No, we
the-
don't call the witnesses.
Okay,
we do
good.
not call the witnesses.
Oh,
Okay, yeah. So I'd like.
Oh,
to,
I have no
did
idea
you-
what I'd call a witness for, anyways.
You
I'd
not
like to-
call Will as a witness.
I'd like to.
Dennis.
You will
Yes,
call
William.
the
Did you
witnesses
say
during your
in-
rebuttals.
in the armistice, in the London armistice, did you say
Chris,
that
the
I
toilet,
lose
give me
my
a sec.
claim? Did you say that? Did you strictly say that?
You're-
No,
Will,
he
you're
said
only
nothing
allowed to
about any
object.
claims.
Hold on, no,
he
this
said
is not
nothing
your
about
argument
any
time.
economic
This is not your
sanctions.
argument.
Guys, order! Fucking order! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Where's the gavel?
Okay, I'm gonna go to the toilet.
Okay, Lucas,
I'll be
it's not
back
your
in a
argument
sec.
time.
Oh.
No
Will-
arguing right now.
Yes,
no
I'm just-
arguing.
I'm just
Okay.
pointing out. Lucas, it's not your
Please.
argument time. Will, you are only allowed to object to factual claims, not
Oh,
to the
okay.
not to the
No,
legal.
I was checking if you'd said that, so then it would be.
No,
fine.
I'm not specifically said that.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
not in dispute. So, but yes, everyone just pause because I need to go to the toilet and do other stuff. So,
Other
Okay.
stuff in the
Let-
toilet.
Throw out the bombs!
Let's all-
Bombs!
I'm getting
Bubble!
water.
Let's all go to the audience so we don't accidentally argue.
Aww,
Aw.
aww. I'll just stay here.
Aw.
You guys can listen to my.
What?
No, right.
Hi.
Hey guys,
Oh, I've been invited.
can people hear me?
Oh,
The banjo. Do people want a bit of banjo? I've got dinner.
We have a bit of order. Okay. Is everyone bar Will here? Check.
Okay, everyone's back, so we need
Is
to.
Lucas back?
Oh, was Luke? Okay.
I don't know if Lucas went, but I just want to check if he's actually here. Or he left forever. I'll take that as you're here. Get off the fucking stage.
Yep. Oh.
It is time for rebuttals. I am fairly sure.
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. So.
First rebuttals come from
10
Lucas.
minute rebuttal from Lucas. Up you come. That's the wrong VC.
Whoops. Okay, so first off, definition of law case from Dennis's document says that it requires that the delay actually is a detriment to the respondent, not the petitioner. It would make absolutely no sense for it to be an completely like to be able to dismiss the claim if the delaying of the claim is actually detrimental to the petitioner who had not known of the contract. An example of this could be if the petitioner had no idea they had an inheritance, and then someone takes most of the inheritance when they weren't supposed to, and the petitioner then the court says, oh, petitioner in fact cannot have the money because they delayed it for too long, even though it's actually detrimental to themselves. Furthermore, I had no knowledge of this because I had not known that there was textual evidence of the treaties being nullified. Again, we can see that I had no cause to know know that the treaties were completely nullified because I had always thought that they were going to be followed. But then, since Dennis was saying that he, in fact, that he didn't have to do it, I just assumed this. This is not ignorance of the law. This is a very different thing, because I'm not saying that I was ignorant of a contract and that was detrimental to me. I'm saying I was ignorant of a contract that was actually good for me. That is not something you can use to dismiss a claim to that same contract. Furthermore, the double alliance section would make absolutely no sense if it was simply about the relationship of the double alliance. That would basically mean saying that the union of the two has an effect of the trade in Baltic Sea. That does not have any effect on the Baltic Sea. We know this for a fact because that just doesn't have a game like function in EU4. For another example of this being a very bad thing to be perpetuated in law is that then everyone who notices that they are named under an alliance for a certain sanction could just walk out of an alliance because they are no longer part of an alliance. See, there are many loopholes you could exploit for this, which obviously should be blocked up. Also, again, so just to say, Croatia not asserting the claim, but saying that he could have argued it, again, is not good. Not good enough, because
I would just like to quickly point something out. The Partition de la Norte de Africa was not actually signed by all three participants, so it's not actually valid. I do apologise.
Well, not fully valid, yeah. Which participant didn't sign it?
Me.
Really?
Oh, okay, in that case.
Well, no,
yeah.
that just means that for oh wait, how do we know that? How do we know you just didn't unclick it recently?
Because I didn't.
There's not much way to prove
Okay.
either way.
There's not much way to prove it, but
Anyways.
I can assure you I
But
didn't.
you did react differently in a way
React
that
differently.
you reacted with a tooth.
Yeah, but I didn't change. I haven't changed my reaction since that date. Is what I mean.
Yes, but okay, can you clarify what you meant?
Okay. Also, Croatia couldn't have argued because it would have put their opinion, would have damaged the opinion of them with respect to the Netherlands and Italy, both massive powers that border them and have very high influence over them. In fact, for a long time, it was a joke that Serbia was the puppet of Italy. At least I think that's what
That was never
Italy
my
was saying in
I do
CK3. In
apologise.
CK3.
I have never said that in my life. I might
Okay,
have said
sorry.
it, but I've
Well-
never said it.
Okay, you never meant it. I know you never meant it, but it was a joke.
Luke and me with you and Will.
No. That's
Okay.
that joke I know has been made several
Also,
times.
the Netherlands does not border Serbia, so
Furthermore, the reimplementation clause was required to be written because I needed to write it during the war. The reimplementation just meant that this was to make it concrete that it would happen again after the war. If I didn't write that, then yes, Dennis could be saying, "Oh well, maybe I shouldn't have. I should just not agree with this treaty because I mean it's not been re-implemented after the war, where it was temporarily nullified." It's just to make it concrete. I knew myself that you should follow the textual contracts that you wrote outside of extenuating circumstances. I had to write the re-implementation clause during the war because the commitments were not being adhered to during the war. For good reason. You don't give money to the person you're fighting. It is unreasonable, as Dennis likes to say a lot about me not asserting a claim for a long time. It is unreasonable. Why wouldn't I? It is a detriment to me to not assert the claim, not to him. But by the way, I'm just gonna really, if you look at his the thing, I don't actually have the definition myself. It's on Dennis's document. The document says, if I find Marquez definition.
5 minutes left.
Yes, it says a lacus is used when a party's otherwise valid claim is delayed to be brought to a court at the detriment of the opposing party. Now, the opposing party in this case is Dennis. So this lacus is not applicable because it is a detriment to me to delay the claim, not to Dennis. In fact, it is good for Dennis. What else? first of all, what difference does it make that I'm asserting the claim now than if I was asserting it earlier? I still had a rightful claim the whole time. What difference does time make to this? I'd like you guys to answer me, because I actually don't know. What difference does time make to this?
I know in certain cases, when we've got a core provinces, which have been referred to several times in speech, but I do not believe in that particular wording written down, of our core provinces. So Anton's core provinces, Sardinia and Italy, Dennis's core provinces, British Isles. So there's certainly an aspect of something you've owned for ages and is in your heartlands, having an increased claim to that.
Surely the reverse would be true, where you have less of a claim
to a periphery.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
also, I think the lectures are trying to stop people from using their claims just kind of in bad faith.
Yes, obviously.
Yes, but you see,
Which
you
is
can
what
use lots of
Dennis is
claims in
arguing
bad
that
faith.
you're
But what's the
showing.
definition? Oh, but what's the definition? Because you see, the definition there is that it is to use to detriment of the opposing person.
Yeah, but
when
you,
it's
you
delayed.
said this,
but,
yeah.
but the fact that it's delayed doesn't cause a detriment. It would be a detriment in the first case. The time doesn't make a difference.
So why
like-
didn't you bring it up sooner?
Because I had no knowledge of the fact that there was no textual evidence. It was only after looking through the partitions and pacts that I realized, there literally was no treaty saying so. Also, his point on how conversations after we all collectively decided that the war ended the Treaty of Riam, even though it never said that it ended the Treaty of Riam, doesn't make sense. Because how can you prove anything based on conversations? As we just shown, we cannot prove through conversations with Dennis or with Will easily about promises of the Caribbean. So how can we prove conversations about the effects of
I just wanna
war?
check,
Like
you
I could
had
surely I could
assumed-
say.
You had assumed
Yeah, I had
the
assumed.
Treaty of Reims had been nullified. Am I correct?
No. Yes. For reasons that Dennis had been saying it quite a lot. I'd assumed that it was nullified not for the reasons of that there was textual evidence, because there never was, but for the reasons that I thought that the London Armistice had said it. But to think now, I realize that couldn't have been the case. And also, just saying in general, you cannot prove conversation just out of conversations and collective understanding that things were the case. Because I could do the converse, where like after a war, I could just preceding a war, I could say, a conversation never happened, and I have a claim to this place, and now it's my rightful claim. This is the active, official, long-standing textual evidence that provides a rightful claim. Like, it was more of memory, because there were lots of clauses where it was followed, and I knew that it wasn't.
1 minute remaining.
Stopped. Also, a real life example, but before our date, is that in 1100 AD, the Crusader they were given
1100 is
Crusader
not
privileges
before
from.
1066.
Okay, good point. Fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. Okay, is that it?
Is that if that's all you got to say? Yeah, you
Or
can
is there
call
still
Will as
time
a.
left?
There's just a bit of time left.
A few seconds, less than a minute.
You're good with that? You're
Also,
good with
if
that?
the objection of Netherlands doesn't border Serbia, you still have an influence because of your navy now, and especially because of just simple size of your army. In CK3, you could have just walked through.
Oh wait, guys, I've just thought of something. For a period of
What?
time,
They were actually because of
Netherlands
Catalonia.
did. Oh,
Yeah.
Although
Oh,
that was a
yes.
completely demilitarized zone where no forts or troops were allowed to be. So I don't know about the
So it's a
validity
dodgy
of
thing.
that actually be like it's border, but is it border? Anyway, I think that's your time up.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Right.
Step back off the stage. We'll get the.
Dennis up for refutal.
Hello.
You have
All right.
until 7:36.
All right, may it please the court. The first thing is that the petitioner argues oh, he didn't know. He didn't know. He didn't know that he had this treaty signed. But once again, this is unreasonable. He argues about inheritance, and if you say, "Oh, I didn't know that I inherited something," well, sure, but you don't agree to an inheritance. Here, he agreed to all of the things, and there's a reasonable assumption that he knows what's in the treaties he signed. Therefore, he can't say, "Oh, I just assumed that the London Armistice had nullified it." Well, you should have known that the London Armistice nullified it because there was a treaty you agreed to. Then I'd like
Armistice didn't nullify it though. It was
no, but he said he thought it did. Well, that's unreasonable. Yeah. He should have known. And then his claim about latches is wrong. With latches, the purpose is what's detrimental is not just that the claim is not brought. It's that the delay in bringing the claim, followed by the actual action of bringing the claim, prejudices the defendant. So in this case, it prejudices me because I've invested time and effort into trading Lucas, you're not allowed to just argue there. You're not allowed to argue. I've invested time and money in in trading in the Baltic Sea. The fact that he has as well is irrelevant. I've done it, and so the delay has prejudiced me because I've wasted my time and my effort. Then his claims initially about the majority of the clause being followed is simply false, or it's just nonsensical rather. With the immediate payment, that's because the payment was immediate. Of course, it was followed instantaneously. With the payment to Will, that was followed until I transferred that debt, and that was followed because it was re-implemented again. We did it using commands, remember? Anyway, once again, you can't argue. And with the conversion was not followed because I wanted to follow the treaty. The conversion occurred, and this is demonstrably true. The conversion occurred because the initial declaration of war was a holy war, and you can't declare holy wars on members of your other faith. The reason that I converted was because I believed, as I think is kind of reasonable, that if you convert to the same faith, that would invalidate the war. Obviously, that was not the case. But that is why I converted, not because, and I'm kind of testifying here, not because I was following the treaty. Initially, Luce also argues that, wars suspend all treaties between someone. Okay, and then he says that re-implementation was necessary because otherwise that would have just been indefinite suspension. Well, yeah, exactly. That's the point I'm making. It would have been indefinite suspension absent re-implementation, and he didn't re-implement the claim to Hispaniola. And even so, he also says that, if you had a trade agreement between two nations and then you went to war with an ally, that trade agreement would be temporarily nullified, but then be brought back into force afterwards, because why would a war that has nothing to do with this treaty then nullify it? Well, that's not the case here. The war had everything to do with the Treaty of Reims because it was directly opposing it. It was in order to effectuate the initial claim, which has been unsuccessful in Reims. And with Fluev, similarly, he argues, oh, well, that's still in force because it was never textually nullified. Well, if we have to adhere to this strict textualism, there was a war goal for that land. So if all treaties are equal, then there are two different claims occurring, and I'd like to point to February 5th declaration of war for these various duchies to different people. If that's the case, then there are two conflicting treaties, so I think the newer one takes precedence. So Fluev is obviously nullified by later war goals, so it's not that there simply wasn't the forces, there also wasn't a treaty-bound rightful claim. His arguments about the balance of power are simply nonsensical. They're not. Whether or not why a treaty exists isn't relevant, and whether or not it adds to the balance of power is not consequential as to whether or not it's still binding. The fact that it make the game more fun or balanced is not really an argument in any sense. And he also says that he knew he thought that he didn't enforce these claims because he thought that the Treaty of Reims would be followed. Well, but he knew that it wasn't. He knew at least 3 sessions ago that I'm testifying here, that I told him and pointed out, oh, look how much how much trade influence, and we can look at the saves, how much trade influence I have in this land, and I'm transferring this much money out of it. So if he thought that it would be followed, then why upon realizing that it wasn't being followed, why did he not then say, no, look at the treaty you signed, you have to stop doing that? That doesn't make any sense. It's not that he believed that the treaty would be followed and so he just didn't enforce it. It's that, as he says, he didn't know, but that's not reasonable. Not knowing that you signed something is totally, it's not a defense to the fact that you signed it, or a defense to the fact that you waited too long to bring it to assert a privilege under that. And then the double alliance, he says, it's the alliance mechanic has nothing to do with the trade mechanic. Well, yeah, sure, but that's not what I was arguing. I was arguing that with a provision of a treaty, there's what it does, and then who it does it to. The what it does is it stops people from trading in the Baltic Sea. Who it does it to? The members of the Double Alliance. It's not saying that the alliance itself is somehow meaningful to trade in the Baltic Sea. It's describing a relation or an entity that the clause is binding on. That entity no longer exists, so the clause is binding on no one. And he says you could leave the alliance. That's a loophole. You could leave the alliance to get out of the division. Well, yeah, you can, but that fundamentally that deprives you of the benefits of being in the alliance. If you're in an alliance, and let's say it's something strong, a bit stronger, a bit more meaningful than me, Job, and Luke. If you're in that alliance, if you're in some meaningful alliance, like say Will was in with Petitioner, or Russia was in with Petitioner, and there was something he couldn't do. Say it was trade in the Baltic Sea. Well, yeah, he could leave the alliance, and then that would permit him to do it if it were phrased the same way. But the punishment, the consequences, the counter to the loophole, is that you're leaving the alliance. You're inherently losing the benefits
going through
of that.
And sorry, I didn't say it.
It doesn't even the consequences do not defeat the fact that that clause is not binding on the members, and it's judicially unmanageable because he's simply saying assume that it's the members at the last point, or it's all of the members that have ever happened, or something. You want
to testify, Luke?
But that's unreasonable to determine. There was no double alliance treaty. But there was a role acknowledging it as a formal type of thing. I think there was a pact called the Hardy-Belgarsko Pact. So it existed, and then it ceased to exist. I'm sure we could go through audit log and maybe find the exact date that it ceased to exist as a role. But whether or not that's the exact date that it ceased to exist as a function or as an entity we don't know, and it's judicially unmanageable. This argument is null. I don't know. Once again, his argument about that the delay is, it's harmful to him for delaying it. Yeah, but it also.
You have 1 minute left.
Okay. I don't know. Are there any questions from the judge? I already made the unmanageable. Are there any questions that I could briefly address?
No. Have you gone through?
Yeah, there's the Hardy-Belgarsko Pact.
The predicate. Sorry.
Have I gone through the
clause is no longer in force? B1.
B1. Yes, I have, because it's that's the re-implement thing. I went through that initially.
Okay.
Re-implementing means, and once again, he argues, he had to re-implement it because it had been nullified by the war. Well, exactly. It had been nullified by the war. The very fact of the war, in opposition to the prior treaty, is what nullified it. We can see that with Fluev. That was in opposition to the prior treaty. Certainly in Fluev there's a textual commitment, but it still conceptually nullifies it. And generally speaking, I think it's not, if you have a war which is fought in opposition to a treaty, as I think this one is quite clearly, that should nullify the treaty. It's not that, sure, unrelated treaties should not be nullified, but if they are related, and you're fighting the war in opposition to some treaty, well, then the war is in opposition to that treaty. And then if you win, you're opposing that treaty in the war, you win the war. The treaty I think, is quite, we have this implicit, there's quite an implicit understanding, or quite an inherent understanding that treaty is no longer in force. When you're opposing it and then you win in your opposition to it. I'd like to point not to. I know the Treaty of Augsburg was struck. I'm not going to point to any kind of factual or legal implications, but the Wikipedia page says that it was overthrown by a war. I think that would be the appropriate term for the court to adopt. If a treaty is overthrown by war, that's a cause for implicit nullification. It's no longer.
I'm gonna have to call you
yeah,
here, Dennis.
I yield.
Okay.
Do we have any factual things from?
Can I
Oh,
Can I
you
call a small recess because I need to grab paracetamol?
Also, the judges need to recess some other.
Yes.
people.
We'll wait
need
for
to recess.
factual objections and then recess in private courtroom for
No.
judges and
Can
judges.
can we have a recess now, please?
We'll have a recess. I mean, we have to have a recess to talk, but you can have a recess to go get paracetamol now. And then
Okay.
we'll
Okay.
hear from factual people.
Good.
I just want to check. Nice weather we're having, eh?
Looks outside, can't see because it's too dark.
Yeah, I opened my window and it's like, oh, it's darkness. I presume it's raining, but I don't quite know. Lucas, you're out of time. Stop arguing.
No, that's factual. Well, if it is
No, that's
Join
only
the
your
fucking stage.
objections,
Get
then-
off the stage! Oh my god, fucking order in the fucking court. Jesus Christ. I'll bang my gavel if I have to, even if you can't hear it. No, swearing is a important part of this court. I think we all have to say at least one swear word before the court is adjourned.
I will not further this motion and, in fact, go in disagreement of it because I dislike swearing.
Okay. But what if you said sugar?
That's not a swear
How
word.
do you make a pancake?
Well, it depends if it's a savoury pancake or a sweet
quite like a
pancake,
sweet-
and
I
whether
quite like
you'd
a
like
sweet one.
to be a fruit
like a sweet
pancake,
one.
whether you want a thick pancake, a Scotch pancake,
I'd like a
flat,
thick,
thin
I'd like a
pancake.
thick sweet pancake, please.
Okay, well I'm looking for the American method, and for
Yeah.
that I'm pretty sure it's lard and beef fat.
Only lard and beef fat. Those are the only things you use.
There might be flour.
There might be flour.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
This seems like a highly questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, other versions of pancakes I know how to make. The version you want me to tell you how to make, I do not know.
Okay, how do you make the other versions then?
Well, the flat, thin pancake, you mix up a pancake batter.
Right,
involving
how, with
egg-
what?
I was going to say, involving eggs, a particular type of flour that's not too self-raising because you don't want big bubbly pancakes, and you can add sweeteners. I prefer brown sugar. But you
Ooh,
can have
what
white
did you
sugar?
say?
May
You
I-
said
may
sugar.
I-
You just
may
said
I-
sugar, which
may
is
I,
a
Luke-
swear word.
May I call
Uh,
Luke to testify? Once Judge Pekin
Well,
is
Luke
back.
will be able to
You may
testify
not
the same
call
as
to-
Joe. Like, you won't be able to call to testify.
Okay,
but
so I
Luke
can't- so I
and
can't ask him
Job and
questions.
Will can speak at the end, right?
Okay, no. Well, no. I was asking if I could ask him like if I could ask him specific questions, like you would question like a witness.
If
that's-
you two want to prepare questions for the other members of the other like
People to
what-
ask.
people like I don't know what they're called. Officially.
Audience members.
witnesses.
Audience, the other like audience members,
Yeah.
effectively. If you want to ask specific questions for them and they agree to answer them, you can do that. That applies to you too, Lucas. Just so you're aware.
So you get your egg, you get your flour, and you get your sugar, and you mix it
Yeah.
up into a batter. You can use a whisking machine. Electric ones are much easier, but you can do it a bit like beating an egg with a hand whisk. I like to do it in a large bowl.
I normally beat eggs with forks, but sure.
Okay. I use a loose whisk
Does
rather than a
not
tight
have
whisk.
sub-badges?
You know, or when the metal
do.
wires
Yeah,
are
yeah.
spread apart.
I do
Yeah,
have
and so once you leave the batter to
It's
sit for
just,
5-10 minutes, often
Anton
just as
got
to
a,
get everything
fountain
ready to turn on the
spout,
oven and stuff, and you
which is
get a top
different
ring,
badge you get
and
when you're
I'm not
sub
sure.
for-
Yes, the top
Putting the
ring,
pancakes in
Oh,
the
yeah.
oven.
the rings on the oven,
The
on
hob.
the top, the hob.
Okay.
I think
You're
it's
not putting them in the oven.
When I'm on the oven, because my
Okay.
house doesn't have a gas hob, it's got rings
Yeah.
attached built in.
Our hob is not attached to our oven, although they commonly
I'll be back
are.
in a
So
moment,
I was
chat.
slightly confused where you were turning on your oven.
So turn on the rings of the hob on the oven. Now, I'm not quite sure what this piece of equipment is called, but basically it's a flat, round disc, larger than a pancake, like, bigger than a dinner plate, with a handle along the entire thing, like a cauldron lid handle, so you can actually pick it up, and just lay it on, and you just pour the batter over it. You can grease it up with some butter first, and then you dollop a bit
The
onto
third
the...
of the jury is ready.
We're
The
still
third of the
talking
jury is
about
ready.
pancakes. I want to hear about this pancake though.
So you, with a ladle, you dollop out a bit. You can use a large spoon, depending on how large you want it to
Can we
be.
hurry up,
And then
please?
you, with the back of the spoon, you can spread it out over an area large you want it to be. You don't want to go too wide because then you'll get holes. But you want it about a few millimeters thick, and so you probably be about like a bit smaller than a dinner plate width. And then to leave it there for a bit. After say 4 or 5 minutes, depends on the heat of your hob, then you can flip it over. You might need to flip it over again if you do it too hastily, but you don't want to flip it over too much because you'll burn the sides.
You don't want to.
Bubble-
You don't want to do a pancake too hastily.
because bubbles within will naturally grow as they get heat, so you get large areas, but they're thinner and therefore they burn more easily. So if if it has too many bubbles, the bubble lids or covers can burn quite easily.
Right,
and
I'm
you
done
don't
with
want charcoal.
pancakes now. Let's hear from Luma Spectre. Are we gonna? I know that was quite abrupt, but he said we. Oh, he did. I'll return in a minute. Okay. Should we do some? I don't know if Will's here.
Pancake toppings?
Oh no, Job's here. Okay, we'll do Job.
Okay.
Pancake topping.
I quite like mine with lemon and sugar, but maple syrup is also very nice.
Hello?
Come on up, Job.
No.
Come on up.
What?
Oh no, he's not come up.
Why?
Come up.
He partially came up.
Why?
Into
Click.
the stage,
Click, take the stage.
please.
The button says take the stage. Click it.
Or press leave the stage.
Oh.
Press leave the stage then, and press join the stage.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
How long do I have?
You got 3 minutes. I'm gonna say.
Okay. Right, so there's the submission from Portugal form I have submitted that if people
Yeah.
want to have up for reference.
I've read that.
There's bits about the treaties and that, but the first argument is on the trade node section.
I'd like to remind audience members
Oh
to
my-
keep their arguments to fact.
That
I'd like to remind the audience to not interject in
Ugh.
factual objections.
is that if Lucas was, is this for factual bits or what? Because
Well, it's
Yes.
kind of meant to do
Yes.
factual.
But yeah,
yeah. I guess the only factual things I'll say is that if Lucas was targeted with the double alliance, it should have mentioned members and not members specifically, and not the alliance. Factually speaking,
Well, no, that's your opinion, but okay.
I don't know.
It's
Just-
fine. It's good.
though the treaty in question did specifically mention the people rather than the double alliance as a organisation.
Yeah. The treaty at points mentions that, but it should have just mentioned people if that's what it wanted to be, and not double alliance for
Okay.
reference.
Does the Lucas or Netherlands or Prussia have any questions for this specific audience member, or are they all good?
The other section is the Hispaniola clause. Well, originally Portugal thought that they believed in their interpretation as referenced in A. They now believe that if you look at, if you scroll up in partitions and packs to see the treaty, when it says, they now believe in their argument that the things mentioned in re-implementation under the secondary clause, only the things mentioned there are null from the initial one, and that
The time isn't okay. I believe it was 44 when it was called.
yeah, but
Less than a minute. Keep talking. We'll tell you
okay,
to stop.
okay. Basically, that the Portugal originally had interpretation A that the entire thing was void by the sentence that it'll be re-implemented, but Portugal now believes that, after consideration, that it should only that anything not mentioned within re-implementing all the requirements of the First War, including so only the reparations to will remaining Catholic and the Baltic trade known supremacy, which is referring to Double Alliance of One, are void, but anything else mentioned in it is still.
Objection sustained. And time
Yeah,
up.
that time?
yeah. I just double check. So you are of the opinion that it is entitled that someone must give Lucas Hispaniola.
He is entitled to it under the initial
No,
truth.
he is entitled for some unspecified person to give it to him. Okay, get off the stage.
This does not seem like factual objection.
Get off the stage. Thank you. Okay.
That was that was. Okay.
It was fact enough for me. In my heart, it was fact. So
I'm not taking any action or anything. Can Dennis
yes, okay, fine. You said
has
no.
everyone made all the factional objections they want to?
No,
Get Joe back. Joe, come back
Joe-
up here.
Joe,
Dennis
come
wants to
back,
ask you a
Joe, come
question,
back.
which you didn't say before. Oh.
well, because he added more testimony. Okay, so you right? I know it's opinion, but you still said it. So
No, Lucas.
Lucas, no, I'm questioning. Get off the stage.
Oh.
So you say that you say you don't believe that the double alliance clause is valid, right? That was your testimony, that the double alliance clause is not
Because
valid.
it doesn't exist.
Right. Okay. But you're saying that, but you also talked about how the re-implementation clause means that only those are invalid. I don't really understand.
The ones that are mentioned underneath are invalid, but the other ones are still valid that weren't
So
mentioned.
You're saying the re-implemented ones are invalid, but the non-re-implemented ones are still valid.
Yes.
You see the problem. You see the conceptual problem with that.
At least from the point of view of
statement.
if,
Do you have any kind of reason why
Because-
why you?
because
I know why you believe
from
that,
the
but I
point
want
of
an actual
from
reason.
what Lucas wrote, from that it is reasonable to believe at the time he believed that those specific stipulations were nullified, but not the ones he either didn't mention.
Do you have? I mean,
Because
yeah, okay.
it never explicitly mentions
that's-
nullification in the London Armistice, but him putting it there suggests that those ones were implicitly nullified, but the other
But the other
weren't.
ones weren't.
We're gonna move on.
Yes.
I think Lucas has a
Okay.
question for Job as well
All right, I'll
think-
yield.
from San Diego.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. So, did you ever think that one or more of the clauses of the Treaty of Lyon were implicitly nullified? And tell me when you thought so.
We just did that.
Not really, because you were talking about about the double alliance clause and what it meant to Luma. I'm asking which war did you consider the time when it was implicitly nullified?
For which bit under? Sorry, which bit under partitions and pacts am I looking at?
As in the secondary effects of the Treaty of Lyon, the Baltic Sea trade supremacy clauses. Which war do you think was conversed or implicitly nullified
It was
afterwards?
Quite obvious from the testimony, but
It was implicit. The London Armistice implicitly nullifies them.
Why? Why do you think that?
It implicitly nullifies it because you mentioned re-implementation of them, meaning you also, based off what you had written at the time, believed that they were nullified by it. But because they are the only ones you have mentioned and not the other ones are still in effect. But the ones mentioned are nullified because...
So, therefore, you're saying that even though I didn't mention the London Armistice in the re-implementation, you think that it's the London Armistice that caused it?
the London Armistice would have been the war that would effectively been implicit of the nullification because it was a counter-war. Well, is it counter-war? Continuation, more so, of the first war.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
I don't think I have any more questions, to be honest. Anyways.
Right, go down. I was just gonna say, okay, yeah, just come up, Dennis. You should have asked it in your
Right,
first.
so very, very, very briefly. So, Job, you believe that
Ah.
implicit nullification is a thing?
It is a thing, but within this
All right,
context,
thank
it
you,
only
that's all I
applies
needed,
to
that's
the
all I
ones
needed, that's all.
Luke's mentioned.
Okay. I think we're getting a nice bit of Coptic Croatia Luke Chilichi's car crash now. That's my interpretation. Of course you can come up. Of course you can. You are, however, muted.
Well,
Oh, baby. Hello.
hello.
Hello, famous streamer Luke Chilichi's car crash. I'd like to get an autograph after this hearing, but
Okay.
he's just here. Yeah, so Dennis,
Sorry,
come
can I-
up.
can I-
Yeah.
All right. So, Luke, I just like your testimony on some factual things. Do you believe you signed the? I know it's not. It wasn't enforced, but everyone believed kind of that you had agreed to it before. Anton, did you believe prior to this hearing that you were entitled to the Horn of Africa because of the treaty that you sort of split it up? If you scroll all the way to the top.
I mean,
And did you or did you not in the last in the prior session or two sessions prior, some of the one of the very recent ones, did you or did you not say to the Sardinian Republic of Italy, and I'd like to quote, wasn't there some pact or something that meant I was getting Ethiopia? Did you say that or some words to that effect?
Seeing as I don't know where Ethiopia is, I would never say that.
But
Probably something similar.
Would you want me to
I mean,
point you where
maybe, yeah, I
Ethiopia
don't know.
is? Would you like me to get a map and show you where Ethiopia is?
It's the bit that the
Yes,
treaty says
please
you
get out
should
a
have.
whiteboard, please.
Okay, I'll get out my
Uh,
whiteboard. I'll get out my whiteboard.
I did say that, but
I could use this to Dennis
So
to
you did say that. So you did say that. So you
Yeah.
did say that. All right.
yeah, I
And
did say
was-
those words.
You didn't say those words.
I did say those words.
You did say those words. And was the response from the Sardinian Republic of Italy something to the effect of, I don't remember ever saying that, sort of in a sarcastic tone?
No, I believe what was said was, "Fuck you, get out of here."
Oh, well, that's to that effect. So do you believe that the Sardinian Republic of Italy respects the terms of that agreement?
I mean,
Might I
probably
remind
not, but a lot of has changed since then. They've been
Do you believe that
they've been
presently-
carved up land like no
I'm sorry, how
tomorrow.
does this help?
Lucas, get off the stage.
Are you getting to your point? Get to your point, quick.
Yeah. So, do you believe that that partition, or did you believe that was in effect?
I mean, I thought it was a thing until it wasn't.
Even though but none of the other participants really respected it. Would you say that's fair? What do you mean objection?
Job respected it. I mean,
Okay, yes, but with regards to the Horn of Africa specifically, no one else really kind of.
no. Like, I can't really remember if we actually, solidified the Horn of Africa, if it was
We're just trying to get to the point.
or if it was to be determined later. What that land would
Okay,
be.
I just add that it said that the Ivory Coast would be determined. That's all I really have. I just wanted to sort of put that out
Okay.
there.
Is that all your
Okay.
questions? Okay. Yes.
What was the point in that?
Come on. It's a
No.
level clearing. Nothing makes any sense.
Does anybody?
Wait, no, I
have-
wanted to question Luke.
Yeah, no, like he's perfectly entitled to question.
Yep. Yeah, I was supposed to ask. Does anyone have any
Famous,
questions?
famous Twitch streamer Luke Chilichi's car.
Alrighty. So, you. By the way, was my objection to leading question rejected or accepted?
It was sustained.
Kind of
but we
ignored,
told him-
but
we
yeah.
should-
Sustained.
We told him to hurry up. We
Sustained.
told him to hurry up.
So, leading question for the fact of you then starting to say that you thought that it was an effect, but, and I'd like you to expand on that. Why did you think it started not being in effect specifically? Was it because of Anton saying that he didn't want that to happen? And if so, what was your feelings of the reason why that would have threatened you to think that it wasn't in effect?
Well, I mean, it was very evident that it wasn't in effect when the land was took.
Do you mean textually evident, or evident in the fact that you couldn't get it in effect because Anton's armies are much more substantial than yours?
Massive armies, huge armies. Yeah.
So you're saying that you had a rightful claim that you couldn't exercise, so you decided to
What?
ignore the partition that you signed. You had a valid claim that you thought you were supposed to have in the partitions. You're supposed to have that land,
Yeah.
but you weren't given it. When was the agreement made for Italy to get the Horn of Africa? This is something I'd like to clear up.
I don't know. I mean, gotta go into the partitions and packs. I hate this channel.
So, sorry, you don't know when
Job,
it was agreed.
well, I don't know when it was agreed. No, because it happened ages ago. Joe split the land, and we all agreed to it.
Hello, so I've just come
Will,
back.
you're not here to testify.
No, just to say.
Oh, no.
You'll be allowed
Hold
to
on,
testify,
hold
Will.
on.
You'll be allowed to testify. Will. Just later, get off the stage.
No, I think
Hold
I'm
on,
just remembering stuff.
When are we playing?
On the 15th of July,
half past
8:30.
2022, at 15:09 p.m.,
Wait, how do I get down from the control kitchen?
the Iberian Empire
Put me in the
hosted
audience.
Partition del Norte de Africa.
You can go into your
Concerning-
That's not answering the question though, because it's when was I given jurisdiction to take Ethiopia, which was effectively never.
Oh yeah, it said that it was to be finalized, but then it never
So I've
actually- I
requested
don't
to be
think
more
it was ever
finalised at a later date.
Sorry. No, my question sincerely was, when was it agreed that Italy would eventually get Ethiopia?
It was never agreed.
So sorry, what was that thing about 2022?
That was
It was
when
never
the-
agreed, you said.
Yes.
And it was never finalised that
So-
Anton could have this bit. Yeah.
Okay, that's all. That's all. It was never agreed, and yet you have it. Okay, I'm leaving.
Okay, can I just ask?
Oh my god, you
Oh,
can't
no.
keep doing this. You can't. No,
No,
you
just
can't.
because I misremembered.
No,
it.
you said I could
Please.
I'm cutting this off because no, you can't just ask. If you can't ask a question of a witness, that's not how that works.
No, this is for asking Lucas a question. Because you said I could ask him
Yeah,
to do it.
if Lucas agrees to
Yeah,
testify, you can
that's-
ask
Can I
Lucas,
ask-
but it's not Lucas's turn to testify yet.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Lucas, can I ask you one question at the end though? Just
Sure.
okay.
Okay.
Can I leave now?
Yes,
Yeah,
you
you
can go to your bathtub and do whatever you do in your bathtub. It's Will's turn to testify now. Ooh, spooky. If he's gonna come up on stage or he's just left forever.
Wait, when you say testified, what does that
No,
mean?
you're just
What's
gonna answer questions that people ask you.
Oh,
Lucas,
okay.
every other time, Dennis is questioned first, and given he is defended,
Okay.
I think you should question first.
All right.
Hello.
So you assert that you have a claim to the Minor Antilles, correct?
Yeah,
Whatever
exactly.
that means. It's not
Yeah.
a specific land mass called
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, because I do.
I'd like to ask. Do you have? Can you see the Minor Antilles?
No.
Can you reach them?
In theory, yes.
In theory, what does that mean? In theory,
It means if I take my ships and I discover it, then I can. Therefore, it is mine.
God.
Yeah, this is a good conversation. I
I'm
like
giving
it.
Will. Can I ask the court to give Will 20 points for being cool?
Thanks, guys. I think I should have a bass solo now. I
And
think-
minus 1 point for Dennis for asking
sorry.
the definition of in theory.
yeah, true.
no,
true.
but these are-
Let me total the point scores right now.
Mi-
Vlad.
minus
I just
minus
thought-
a million
I
points
just
to
thought-
everyone for getting off
I
track.
just stopped
And
my
for
dad
minus
walked in.
11.
I just saw because my dad walked in. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't,
yeah,
you can't
Minus-
see.
Minus a million points to everyone for going off track.
Okay,
Oh, it's so
you
true, so
can't,
true, so true.
you can't see the this land, the Minor Antilles.
No.
And can you hire an explorer,
Yeah. Very.
a
soon.
ship explorer?
I think. I generally don't know, but I think I'm literally like 3 counties away from getting getting an explorer, and I think at one point I could have explored. But I missed it.
Do you have? That's a conquistador. That's a different thing.
Oh wait, how? I don't even know how you explore overseas. This is the thing. No one's told me.
You get.
Look,
a
he
ship.
can. He can. He's right
You're
on the
not-
three counties thing.
Okay. So do you have?
Basically, I wasn't aware of the claim, and if I
Okay,
was
wait.
aware of the claim, then I would have done it.
We're not. So you're saying, but you're saying you would have done it, but like,
Yeah, because I
I'm
didn't
not-
realise that
I'm-
I was entitled to any land there.
all right, I've already made this argument. I yield.
If that's all.
You
Okay,
yield
my turn.
until I
Bring it.
come.
Be patient, Lucas. Patience is a virtue, and you will obey the patience of the court. Right.
That went well.
Inner peas. Inner
Does
peas.
anybody else have any questions for Vladimir?
You can ask me what my body count is.
Come up then, Lucas.
It's more than my body count.
All right, I have to do this quick because I need to eat pizza. Right.
Ooh, pizza.
Did you or did you not? Actually, that's already been answered. Did you or did you not know about the Treaty of Riom being nullified after the second war, or second lost war of Dennis, or at least implicitly nullified?
No, I didn't know that.
All right. So,
Well, because
did
it
you or
was-
did
it
you
didn't-
not know about the Baltic Sea trade clauses that also affect you?
That, to be fair, I generally don't even know about them now. I'm not gonna lie. So wait, to be fair, I kind of only concentrated on my side of this debate. I didn't really look
But
at any of the
these are the
sort of
things
Baltic
that
shit.
affect you.
Right.
Yeah. So you should
Woman,
probably
eh?
know them.
Oh, well,
That's
oh,
all I want to ask.
Okay.
Oh wait, wait, no.
what was your, what was
You
your-
Would you have
ask
gone to
anything.
war? Would you have gone to war to exercise your claims?
which one? What, the minor Antilles?
Any of them.
Antilles? Any of them?
Yeah, Minor Antilles, Baltic
Just
Sea
the-
trade clauses. Would you have gone to war for any of them?
Or yeah, but the difference is the Baltic Sea trade. I can't really get any more money, can I?
Well,
Can I?
it is your capital trade node.
Yes, you can.
Oh,
you
is
can
it?
get much more money.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, I probably would go to war for that. And I
What do
don't
you mean?
think
No,
the
it
Baltic-
isn't, Dennis. Is it not? Is capital trade node? No, capital trade node. You can you
No,
can move your
it's-
capital
no,
trade node
it's
to places
capital
that aren't
trade.
your capital.
His capital. I don't think his capital trade. I think his capital trade node is still.
Sorry, what?
His capital trade node is still Constantinople.
Oh, okay. But does he collect from trade there? He can't collect from trade there either way.
Yeah, he can.
You can always collect trades with any
Correct.
merchant. So you can gain money from that either way. But would you have gone to war for it or for the Minor Antilles to have Caribbean islands?
Me?
Yes.
Yes, you're the only person who's. being
Considering
asked
your
questions.
position right now,
What to go the Caribbean?
yes.
Against
Would you?
Anton?
No, Dennis.
against anyone at all.
In my current position, with the fact that I haven't taken the entirety of Russia, probably not. The only reason I would take it is because it's a colony, and I don't have to do any work, and I have to take it. I have to take it.
Okay.
Are you done, Lucas?
That's the truth, and the only.
Yep. Okay.
truth.
See ya. I didn't have lunch.
Wait,
now.
hold on. You said, wait. Look, can I just ask you one very quick question?
Vladimir, no,
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Do you have the capacity to reach or to colonize Hispaniola? I.e., to colonize it or to put troops on it?
Probably.
That's not an answer. It's a yes or no
at the
question.
current
I have no
moment.
idea.
As
I
it
don't have no
stands.
idea. I don't have.
Do
And
you
furthermore-
have-
mental
do
capacity.
you have exploration or
Shut
do you have exploration or expansion ideas?
No.
Okay, so the answer is no then.
But I can get them.
That's not.
Yeah,
no,
that's
at
not
the current
relevant.
moment.
At the current point or thus far. That is the question. That's not relevant. All right.
I
thank
have
you
the
very
ability to get explorers very easily.
Just because
No, no. I said colonist.
No, not in the
colonist.
future. I can do it instantly right now
I
if I
said- I
decided
said
to, because I
colonist. I
have
said
in the
colonist.
bank the monarch points required to.
I
Yes,
said
I've got
colonist.
in the bank monarch
No,
points enough to
I
get a
said-
colonist.
That's not how you get colonists.
That is how you get colonists.
No, that's
Get
how you
the
get
idea
colonists.
group
I mean,
to get the
you
colonists.
you can swap idea groups, you know.
Yes, I know, but as it stands, you cannot colonize that.
Anyways, I have to go. See ya.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Get
Yeah.
off the fucking stage. I think we will. The court, if it's okay with you guys, I need to go Pearson and get some stuff before Mega
Very
Campaign
well.
starts.
I shall
But,
maintain here
Well,
until you return. So
Yeah,
when
but
you
we do-
return,
the
we shall go
court does
to
actually
the.
to deliberate, and
Yeah,
we will have
so
our
when
private
you-
VC, and we
so-
will talk about
Yeah,
our decisions.
the private AC or I made a AC.
Okay. For now, basically, I think the ruling will be decided as soon as Mega Campaign starts. If that's good for everyone, if that's good for the other two judges.
So in like 23 minutes.
Yeah. So I am going to adjourn court now, but
Wait, do we not vote?
We will vote just in
We
a
will
bit
vote.
after we talk.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't adjourn court. Okay, court will never be. This court will forever continue. I don't know. Okay. Anyway. Am I meant to be adjourning court? I can't tell.
This
Y-
court
yes.
is
Okay.
did I do well?
Whatever it is, we
guys?
walk out the
Oh,
room.
yeah.
You did so well, Will. You're so cool.
Thank
I
you.
need to bang my gavel. Bang, bang, bang. I just banged my gavel in case you can tell. The court is now adjourned, and you can all fuck off to your little hovels in your ground.
Wait, so
I will,
when do we vote?
I will call you in our private DM
Okay.
in about like 15-10 minutes.
Okay,
and
cool.
we will just talk
See you
about it
then.
then.
we have a private DM.
We do.
Okay, I can't see it, but okay.